Welcome to the GCN Racing News Show. Coming up this week, we'll be taking a look at the 2020 Tour de France route that was unveiled in Paris. We have cyclocross from Belgium and Switzerland, while the European track champs took to the boards in Apeldoorn. The 2020 Tour de France route was unveiled in its usual pomp and ceremony at the Palais de Congrès in Paris, with many an awkward-looking pro rider in a suit, and the usual "he'll be working for me" quotes from some teammates. The 2019 Tour was, of course, one of the most exciting for years. In fact, for me, it was probably the one I've enjoyed the most since the Fignon-Le Monde battle of '89. Before the launch, we had a nice little Grand Depart hors d'oeuvre to get our teeth into, and what a Grand Depart it was. 3 stages based around Nice, no prologue, no time trial, or in fact, no team time trial, and mountains. Mountains on the opening days? What is this, the Giro? And the full tour route doesn't disappoint. If ever an organiser has listened to fans, seen what happened this summer and designed a route accordingly, this was it. We're still missing the other 20 days of La Course, but we'll come to that momentarily. Only one stage of the 3,470 kilometres is over 200 kilometres and more climbing than we've seen for a while, which suits defending champion Egan Bernal perfectly, but 4-time Tour de France champion Chris Froome has already stated that Bernal would be working for him next July. But after that horror crash in the Dauphiné left him with multiple injuries, he said himself that first he has to get fit. Quotes from riders in abundance. "It's going to be a battle every day," said Thibaut Pinot. Julien Alaphilippe is refusing to put himself under pressure by saying he'll go for the Maillot Jaune, which is sensible. The route takes in the summit finish to Orsières-Merlet over a 31-year absence. Café Roubaix points out that for the first time since 1996, the route won't feature Alpe d'Huez, the Col de Galibier, or the Col de Tourmalet. "This tour is one for the 21st century," Christian Prudhomme says. One set of riders who'd be disappointed could be the sprinters. ASO say there are 9 flat stages, but is that really just in comparison with all the others? I can see maybe 5 opportunities for them to truly shine. Is this again perhaps the end of those big lead-out trains and a move back to the sprinters having to go back to their racing routes and become much more attacking and all-round riders, like, of course, Peter Sagan, who will be going for yet another green jersey. The others will be the time trialists, with only one time trial coming on the penultimate day to La Planche de Belfield, where Dylan turns 1 in July. And it was another stage where Julien Alaphilippe gave a glimpse of things to come. The time trial is 36 kilometres in length, and we can only hope that the battle for the jersey is still alive as they roll off the start ramp. So, in summary, 9 flat stages, 3 hilly stages, 8 mountain stages with mountaintop finishes to Orsières-Merlet, Puy-Marie, Grand Colombier, Méribel, and the Col de Luz. 1 individual time trial, 2 rest days, and then it's on to Paris for the final stage in the unofficial Sprinters World Championships, for those who have battled to get this far, where, coincidentally, the women's La Course will also be. After moving away from the circuit format in recent years, it returns. Annemiek van Vleuten has been quoted as saying it's a step backwards and is little more than a criterium, which is true. As it's so close to the Olympic Games as well, will many of the top riders there decide to give it a miss? It's been a busy weekend of cyclocross action, with riders weighing up double weekends of racing and travel time and how it might impact their performance. There have been some major announcements regarding the new Cyclocross World Cup format, moving to 18 races. We'll try and bring you more on that in the coming weeks as it becomes more apparent. Boom was the venue for the next round of the Superprestige series, and what a day's racing we had. If there was one thing that was lacking last winter compared to one thing we have in abundance this season, it's mud. Last year in Boom, it was dry and fast. It was a little more than a grass criterium. It's a great course on a hillside with deep sand and steep descents. We had a big battle in the elite women's race. The 777 team had Annemarie Wurst, Yara Castellijn, and Alice Maria Azzuffi in a constantly changing front group. One of the rides of the day, though, was from Eva Lechner, who after an early tumble powered her way back through the field. And as fellow Italian Azzuffi crossed the line for her first win of the season, Lechner was out sprinting world champ Sana Kant for second. In the elite men, with the absence of some of the dominant forces in cross, we're getting some really exciting, closer, bunched racing. A week ago, Belgian champion Toon Aerts put in a phenomenal ride to close the gap to teammate Quinten Hermans and Elie Iserbyt, only to unship his chain. This week, he was shown his class and skill with an impressive one-footed descent on the big drop. Once he was clear though, he also came down in virtually the same place that had claimed Klasterline earlier in the day. A double knee power slide though didn't cost him much time. Aerts looked like the pressure just visibly lifted off his shoulders as he gave his victory salute. Bern in Switzerland was the venue for the third round and the first in Europe this winter of the Telenet UCI World Cup Cyclocross. Katarina Nash was in the white leader's jersey after second in the opening round behind Magali Rochette and a victory in Waterloo. A great race ensued, and after finishing runner-up to Marianne Vos 12 months ago, 777's Annemarie Verst took her first Elite World Cup win ahead of Corendon circus rider Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, and another World Cup first for Britain's emerging star Anna Kay, who took third. Which, according to cyclocross24.com on Twitter, this is the youngest ever UCI World Cup podium for women at 21 years, 304 days. Nash retained her lead overall, while Rochette and Keogh are now second and third. After back-to-back victories in the USA, Elie Iserbyt sat out the Superprestige in Boom to really give the World Cup his full focus. From the off, Iserbyt never looked in trouble. There was a long section of the course that suited him perfectly, and he nailed it every time, testing his opponents constantly before finally getting clear for victory, although he wasn't quite sure if it was the last lap as he crossed the line and was visibly frustrated at not being able to celebrate. Well, we've seen many a rider celebrate a lap too early and then the wheels and everything comes off on the final lap, only to lose the race. World Cup defending champion Toon Aerts took a fine second to round out a great weekend, while Michael van Torenhout took third. We're 5 stages into the final World Tour race of the year, the Tour of Guangxi, and it's predominantly been a battle for the sprinters, with Fernando Gaviria taking 2 stages, while Pascal Ackermann and Dan McLean have taken 1 apiece. Leading the way in the overall classification is Enric Mas, who holds a 5-second lead over Danny Martinez after he took the win on stage 4, taking advantage of the one and only summit finish in this year's race. With the Tokyo Olympics just a little over 9 months away, there's always a considerable increase in attention in the European Track Championships, which took place in Apeldoorn in the Netherlands last week. There were some standout performances with some big names, but again, with the proposed changes to the track cycling calendar, might we start to lose the likes of Viviani again from the boards, as it will become more and more difficult to seamlessly switch between the road and the track in the summer. Viviani took gold in the men's elimination race, with Brian Coquart taking silver in a move that also sees the Frenchman return to the track ahead of Tokyo after, you could say, a few turbulent years on the road. He also won gold in the points race. On the opening day, there were victories in the women's scratch for Great Britain's Emily Nelson, with a highly celebrated and deservedly so silver medal for Ireland's Shannon McCurley, with Portugal's Miriam Martins in third. Kirsten Veal was in dominant form. She took home gold medals in the elimination race and the Omnium. It looks like she's striking a good balance between the road and track commitments, and she can now also add the GCN Rider of the Week award to her palmarès. There was more success for the home nation in the men's sprint, with Jeffrey Hoogland outgunning world champion Harry Laverson in the final. Laverson, though, didn't go away empty-handed, and he took gold in the Keirin on day 4. It was announced that Niels Eekhoff is taking the UCI to the Court for Arbitration for Sport over his disqualification after crossing the line first in the under-23 world title race in Yorkshire, after the controversy of how he returned to the peloton after a crash. This one will run and run. On to some transfer and retirement news now. EF Education first announced last week that the popular American Taylor Phinney is set to retire from the sport. Taylor has won many titles and races in his career, and also had that battle to come back from what was an almost career-ending crash in 2014. Bahrain Merida's shopping trolley is literally overflowing with the additional announcement that Peo Bilbao, Eros Kopecky, Marco Haller, Scott Davis, Kevin Incola, Rafa Vals are joining the team. It's going to be interesting to see how this team gels next year. Now on to some tough news. It was announced last week that young Team Sunweb rider Edo Mas has been left paraplegic after his crash in the Piccolo Lombardi, where he collided with a car on the descent of the Madonna del Gisalo. In the press release they said that Edo is now fully conscious and has been awake for a couple of days and responds well to family and visiting teammates. The fractures to his back and injuries on his face have required multiple intensive surgeries over the last week, all of which were successful. Edo is currently processing the diagnosis that the fracture in his back has left to paraplegia, a loss of nerve feeling in his legs. At this moment, it remains unlikely that the functionality in his legs will ever return, but fighting power and hope prevails. Sunweb have called on the UCI to do more to improve safety, and you've got to agree. But from all of us here at GCN, we just want to send all our love to Edo, his family, team and friends. After the Tour de France route was announced last week, this Thursday, it's the turn of the Giro d'Italia. Then we'll start to get a clearer picture from the Grand Tour riders of who's targeting what. Make sure you subscribe to GCN Racing. We will bring you all the details from the route announcement on Thursday. Coming up this week, we have live cyclocross again on Saturday and Sunday with the Etias Cross from Berringen on Saturday, while the Superprestige moves to Havre. We also have the Saitama Criterium to the US and Canada. Have a great week. Bye for now.